Hi everybody, Jo here again. I'm doing February today. Sorry, couldn't wait. We did January yesterday, didn't we? In our new Lavinia 2024 calendar. And yes, can't wait. Now, February, I was thinking of doing something along the romance theme. Well, February, you know, you just have to. But also I wanted to have a play with our new Dinkles on my calendar or in my calendar. I know you're going to correct me, whichever way. I want to use them in my calendar. Now, what I'm thinking is I've gone for magenta, and I'm telling you the way my head works, and you know it's a bit weird in there. Obviously, I wanted red, but I wanted a colour to go with it. And I would like to use my lovely sticker. And look at these, I have so many. But what I'm thinking is I love the words on here. We've got love story, we've got I love you more. And obviously these are on a green background. So the idea is I'm thinking of bringing in this lovely lime divine colour as well and using the red and the green. And that's the way my head works as to what colours I'm going to choose. Now, I've not had a play at this. I have made a couple of things in advance that I'm going to show you. But the background, obviously, I wanted to do live on my calendar. So my idea is I want to use my lovely stencil, which is Replenish, and it's the one with the hearts on. And I want to see if I can get almost a print from it. Now, we've done this with ink where we've cleaned our stencil and popped it down. So I'm going to see if I can have a bit of a play. So what I'm going to do is just move my calendar for the minute. And I'm going to put my stencil on my acrylic block, just because I'm a bit, you know what I'm like with my mats. So what I'm going to do is I want some colour on here. So I'm actually going to take my Dinkles. And yes, I know we're all mad into this sprinkling our Dinkles. So I'm going to take, and look, I have got a pin. I am sad. I tried to get my pin the right colour. And I'm just going to pop some on. Now, don't worry, I'm going to have some on the bottom. And the reason is I will not waste it. I'm going to use that. And I'm going to take... Oh, look at that spritzing all that lovely colour. Now, there's various ways of doing this. You could just leave it like that. But I'm thinking I'm going to take... I've got a brush here. And I'm almost just going to move that colour a little bit. Now, I could do this with a piece of card underneath. But because I'm going to use that ink... I mean, really, it's colour, it's pigment. It's just pigment in here. I say just pigment. How could this be just pigment? There is so much colour in here. Now, I've sprinkled a little bit more in to see if I can get a little bit more intensity in places. I'm just going to move a little bit of it around. Now, again, if you're the sort of person who has to have exact science, this is not an exact science. And I am, to be fair, one of those people, but I like to have a bit of a play every so often. So I'm thinking, shall we go with this? Let's have a look. Now, I suppose in theory, we've actually got two sides we could use. Oh, actually, I might prefer that side now. Well, do you know what? Let's have an experiment. I'm going to bring my calendar back in, look. And I'm going to grab myself a spare piece of card, because being a crafter, I've always got spare pieces of card. And let's take this, pop that across there, and let's put our spare piece of card on top and press. And you know what? Murphy's Law says if I prefer the one on the spare piece of card. Now, the good thing is we just want a background. So, you know, whatever we get. Oh, now see, I knew I'd like that one. That's my freebie. Now, let's have a little look. Do you think we dare have a peep? I'm going to go for this corner. Oh, yeah. Let me lift that up. Wow, look at that. Now, luckily, I did pop some copy paper underneath my calendar. And it's a good job because look, I've gone over onto it. Now this background is better if it's left to dry naturally. So I'm going to put that to one side because I can always pop my heat tool on if needed. But what I do want to do at the bottom here, look, we've got a gorgeous design of these trees. And so what I'm thinking is I'm going to get one of my Lavinia brushes and pick some of this lovely ink and just ground these trees, and it'll make the colour, it'll give it a nice cohesive design. And I'm going to pick some up with my fan brush. I told you I wouldn't waste it. And just add some splats of this colour. And obviously we'll still be able to write on our calendar over it, but it will make the two join. Now, this is lovely. I can paint with that, and I've got some painting I want to do in a minute. I'm going to use that. Right, so I have to say, Eric is on the floor here, and he's getting covered because everything is now going on the floor to dry. And while it's drying, I'm going to stamp myself on a spare piece of card here a couple of these beautiful hearts. So this is the small heart, and I've got them in a Flutterby. You know I love this. We're going to use black permanent, the Nocturne VersaFine Clair, and we're going to use the clear gloss embossing powder. So take the lid off and then it's ready, and we're going to stamp one heart, two hearts, and a couple of butterflies. And if you're quick, you'll actually, your VersaFine Clair, you'll be fine. Lid on, always lid on. And then sprinkle your powder. Make sure you don't get it mixed up with your Dinkles, because that would be... Right, whole lot on. Give it a good swish. And then tap it off, tap its bottom. And then we can put that back. Always amazes me how little we use with this. I think this is one of those techniques that no matter how long you've been crafting, when you start doing embossing, it is just the most magic. And what we'll do, heat tool, so I'm sorry it's going to be noisy, switch it on, warm it up, make sure it's heated up, and then no wafting, and this is the embossing tool, one area at a time, and only when it's embossed, move on to the next area. Round we go. There we go. And that way, look, and you can always check by it's shiny, and it's so lovely and shiny. Now my plan is, the reason I've done this is because I'm going to take some of this lovely magenta, and again, look, I've got my red pin in. I love that noise. Pop. I'm going to pop it on an acrylic plate here, and I'm going to take one of my lovely brushes. I'm just going to mix some colour. Now, if I want a deeper colour, and that's the beauty of these powdered paints, that depending on how deep I want the colour, depends on how much powder I add. So look, if I want it deeper, just add more paint. And what we're going to do is paint these hearts. And I have to say, this is another one of those techniques, my favourite, no skill required. Because we've done the embossing, it almost gives you that lovely gutter, that raised edge. So you can just take this, and we're going to cut it out. But don't worry, I have got some I've cut out ready. You don't need to sit and watch me cut out. But this is the sort of thing you could do in advance, and look at that. And as I say, if we want a bit more concentration of colour, So we'll add a bit more pigment there, and I'll go for, where's my little paintbrush, my little number 1. So I'm hardly adding any water, look, and I can come in there and it's more intense colour. Just to give a bit more. And if I want to blend that out, look, again, just more water, blend that out. So there is so much you can do with these powders. And I have to say, the longer the design team, the longer we've had them, the more we've just played and played. You know me at first, like I say, I would go with a technique that I'd done before. It's going to add a bit of depth here. Now I've got a couple of these cut out, and I'm just going to add a little bit of depth in here and in there. Lovely. So I'm going to leave those to dry because I've got some I've already cut out, but how easy was that? Now again, you could on a spare, again, use a spare piece of card, look. You could cut yourself out plenty of these and then they're ready to use. Also, just think of my spare background. I could use them on there. So I've already cut myself out a couple, look, they're my hearts, and I've got some butterflies. So if we move back, oh, I'm getting old, it's a long way onto that floor. Bring back, and I think this is dry. We'll just run our lovely Ranger Heat It Up, our lovely drying tool over, just to check. I'm sure it's lovely and dry, but just to make sure, and then we can add some stamping. So in my head, I'm thinking, I want my hearts there, but I'd like to add this lovely fairy charm. So if I turn it round, and if you bear with me, now again, you could put this on a journal page for a card. So I'm thinking somewhere here-ish. And obviously it is an ish. Now, I want to bring in a little bit of the red. So I've got my lovely sacred spells, and again, got an arrow so I know which it's the right way up. And I'm going to ink this up in this lovely red colour, which is glamorous. And I've got to be honest, I don't think I've used this red very much at all. But I do like to buy. I'm loving the colours of these VersaFine clairs. So it's really good to be able to use it. But I'm thinking second generation. So I'm just going to grab a piece of copy paper. I think first it might be too bright. So let's pop this. And I sort of want it out, but not over the heart. Just sort of coming down to it. Now, let's bring in these. Do I want, yes, I think a little bit more in each corner. So we'll bring this in again. And as always, do excuse me, when you're doing something like this, it's amazing how your desk seems to get even smaller. And I've got to be honest, mine doesn't seem very big anyway. But as soon as I start on my journal or my calendar, and trying to do a video, it seems to shrink. Now, does that happen to you? Or is that just general crafting? As soon as you start to craft, your desk shrinks. Right, and just one more up here. Yeah, I love the subtlety of that. So I'm going to just bring in, yeah, and I've got a couple of butterflies and my sentiment. So let's pop my hearts down. Now I've just put some little sticky pads on the back, so I'm just off camera taking the back off because I need to do it over the bin, because otherwise the back off these And we're going to put that one there. And then I always think there should be a use for these little squares that come off the back of sticky pads, don't you? I don't know what we could use them for, but I'm sure there's something. And I'm going to put, again, I don't want it to be too proud because I want my calendar to be able to close. But I'm liking that. And then just my butterflies, thinking where, and I need to just choose a sentiment. So I'm going to go for I love you more. Because I do more and more each day. And look for my scissors. And let's have a look. So if I pop a butterfly up here and down here, I want that here. So just decide with my scissors and get my black fine liner pen. And then my butterflies, just draw those antennae back on. Because obviously we've chopped them off. Now, you might be the sort of person who can cut round them. I'm afraid that isn't me. I have to cut them off. And what I'm thinking is at the bottom here, if I turn this round, can you see I'm thinking that would tie in nicely if I had a butterfly just there above those lovely trees. And again, would look a lovely cohesive design, and it brings in that lovely bit at the base. So let's have a look. And I have to say, the way the absolute pigment that's come up from that from the Dinkles is beautiful. And we've got our butterfly at the bottom. So some splats. Now, I've got a few pens here, and at the minute some are splatting better than others. So I'm just going to give them a shake. And I'll just see, I just want some nice white over the butterfly. Little bit of highlight on there, I'm thinking. Yeah. Just going to tap my butterfly at the bottom. You might not be able to see this. And then I'm just going to see if I can get a few larger. I might need my other pen. So funny. I know you'll be the same. Some pens just seem to splat better than others. There we go. That one definitely is a big splatter. Right, I'm going to stop because that's definitely a big splatter. Take that out. And then, so there's the top look, February. And look at that red. Honestly, I can't get over that. That's the magenta. And there we've got the base look. So it all ties in beautifully. I've got to say, I've had such fun creating that. But think you could make wedding cards, you could make anniversary cards, just a card to tell somebody you love them. You could stamp the moon in the background, love you to the moon and back. Now there's a thought. Do you know what? I love these crafty sessions because honestly, just so many ideas come popping into my head. And I'm so glad that you joined me. I hope you enjoy them, and I hope it just gets your crafty juices flowing and that you go away and create something. And share with us, please. Put on our Reach Out with Lavinia and our Lavinia For You Facebook pages, and then we can all share the joy and just help each other along the way. Anyway, thanks so much for popping in today. I'll get your coat and I'll see you out. You take care. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.